Hello and welcome back to Simple Money Podcast, Canada's own personal finance podcast presented in short and informative episodes. I'm your host, Matthew Sewick, also known as the Friendly Financial Coach. So what really created today's episode was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. I was actually planning to release a different episode, but then the federal government came out and announced some major changes about what's going to happen post-CERB payments. And of course, as you can guess, that's what today's episode is about. The federal government announced several new programs and changes to EI to help support this inevitable conversion. And this really comes on the conclusion of the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, most commonly known as CERB, which actually ends this September 26th. And in this most recent update, there was also the announcement that individuals are now able to access an extra CERB payment, making individuals eligible for the full 7 periods. And the big question on everyone's mind is what's going to happen after CERB ends and what types of support will be available to those that are still impacted by COVID-19. And depending on if you're EI insured or not, this transitional path will be a modified version of employment insurance or a new program called the Canada Recovery Benefit. And there are also other proposed programs to help support instances like taking care of a dependent and support for being self-isolated or being sick yourself. And before we jump into the material, it's important to point out that all the new proposed benefits, other than the changes to employment insurance, still need to be passed by the government. And they're susceptible to changes. And these kind of modifications were things that we've seen in past benefits. So, of course, we'll keep you updated on this podcast, but it's important to keep track of any of these changes if you're expecting to use any of the benefits. And also for the sake of everyone's sanity, I'm going to leave out the qualifying factors for a lot of these benefits and just really include them in the blog posting for this episode. So this transitional path for those that are being converted off of CERB can really be divided into 2 paths. One for those that are employment insurance qualified and the other for those that are not, like those that are self-employed or in the gig economy. So starting with those that are eligible for employment insurance, there have been a couple changes that will begin on September 27th, which is the day after CERB ends. And the big one here is that the minimum payment has been bumped up to $400 per week for regular benefits and $240 for those on extended parental leave. As always, these benefits are taxable, and this change is really going to help those that were qualified for employment insurance, but were expected to receive a low weekly amount. How the program typically works is that one has to work a predetermined amount of hours for each qualifying period, usually as high as 700, although in some cases it can be even higher. So these new changes drop this amount of EI hours that need to be worked to 120 for the next year or so. This change also applies to those that want to use maternity and parental leave and other special EI programs. And one of the other changes is that the duration of the regular EI benefits will last for a minimum amount of 26 weeks and can be higher depending on the economic region that you're living in. So back to those that are transitioning from CERB to employment insurance. Now, those that have already applied for CERB through Service Canada will automatically be converted into employment insurance and will be paid the minimum $400 a week or greater depending on your personal situation. And this transaction is the easiest out of all of them because there's not much that you really need to do except other than basic attestations and that kind of stuff. And for those that previously didn't qualify, or needing to use the employment insurance benefits in the future, the new rules will apply, and you would need to apply through Service Canada. Now, for those that are not eligible for employment insurance, there is also a new proposed benefit called the Canada Recovery Benefit. And this most commonly will include those that are self-employed, those in the gig economy, and those that just don't qualify for employment insurance. And this program is similar to the basic payments that are made through the employment insurance changes. So it's going to offer up to $400 a week for 26 weeks, and like all other benefits, will be taxable. Applications will be made over the CRA My Account, and individuals will need to complete an attestation every 2 weeks. It's also expected that this program will launch sometime in October. And one of the requirements with this program is that individuals have to earn under a certain amount. So how that's being enforced for this program is that when an individual earns over $38,000 throughout the calendar year, this benefit will be clawed back at a rate of 50%. And this clawback is expected to occur once someone files their income taxes and then the government's able to confirm how much they actually earn throughout the year. So as always with all these other programs, it's important really to plan in advance. And qualifications for this program are going to be very similar to CERB, including the requirement that you have to have earned at least $5,000 in 2019 or part of 2020, and you must also be directly impacted by COVID-19. And as mentioned at the start of the episode, I'll list the full qualifications on the attached blog post for the episode. So another proposed benefit is one called the Canada Recovery Caregiver Benefit, or CRCB. So this benefit is similar to the others by offering up to $400 over a 26-week period. But the big difference is that this is per household, not per individual. And basically, you're eligible to receive these funds if you have to take care of a minor or a dependent in a specific situation, like a child's daycare or school's closed, or if a parent needs to take care of a child due to specific COVID-19 reasons. And the final program that was announced is called the Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit. And how this one works is it offers $500 per week for up to 2 weeks, and is really applicable for individuals that become sick due to COVID-19 or have to self-isolate. And this program is available to all workers that meet the requirements, and it also doesn't require a doctor's note. So that's it for all the new benefits and the current transitional paths forward as they stand. And as mentioned, these proposed benefits have not been passed by the federal government yet, so they are susceptible to change, and you can find updates on the show, but it's also important to keep track of it on your own. So that's it for today, but thank you again for listening to Simple Money Podcast. If you have any questions, you can send them to info@ffcoach.ca. And if you're interested in supporting our show, please rate us on whatever podcast provider you're using. And you could find our Patreon account on the show notes and blog page. Take care, be well, and talk to you soon.